What do you think might be the biggest threat to your long-term health? Drug-resistant bacteria? A global pandemic? Bee extinction? Nuclear war? Could be. Those would be bad and would make us rethink everything we thought we knew about our futures. But I think there's something else more likely to reduce the number of years you have left in good health. You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 210, The Biggest Threat to Your Long-Term Health. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hi, my friend, and welcome to another episode. I hope that you are having a great summer. I hate summer so much. Well, I really just despise being hot. That's the only thing I have against it, which is kind of its whole essence. How have your exercise snacks been going? Have you done any? Even one movement snack here or there, if you wouldn't otherwise have done it, is so great. Movement snacks really do have such long-term benefits. Today, we're going to talk about threats to your long-term health through the metaphor of the hero's journey. Being a woman in her 40s or 50s, preparing to create a life she wants to live in her 70s and 80s is most definitely a hero's journey. It's not for the faint of heart, ladies. Sometimes we might feel more heroic than others, but whether we feel triumphant or defeated right now, we are the hero of our own story. If you like this hero's journey concept, I would highly recommend watching the documentary Finding Joe. You can find it for free on YouTube and other places. It features a bunch of different teachers, including my Optimized coach, Brian Johnson, talking about the philosophy of the author Joseph Campbell. He taught about each of us being on a hero's journey, this fundamental path of evolving into a greater and more heroic version of ourselves via obstacles and dangerous encounters along the way. So, we are each a hero in the making. We have something important we want to accomplish before we die, and we don't want to have to stop living before we die. It's not going to be easy. Sometimes we have to venture into the dark forest when we'd rather stay in the sunny meadow. Sometimes we have to fight a master swordsman or learn to recognize a wolf in sheep's clothing. We might need to learn the secrets of the fire swamp so we can live there happily for quite some time. We can come to know that there's a popping sound preceding each flame spurt, how to recognize lightning sand, and how to defeat our own personal ROUSs. Do you know what I'm talking about? Rodents of unusual size? Frankly, I don't think they exist. Best movie ever. We might even spend years developing an immunity to iocane powder so that we can go against a Sicilian when death is on the line. I could quote that entire movie, so I better stop now because there are so many good lines. No more rhymes now, I mean it. Anybody want a peanut? Okay, back to our journey. We can't grow into the hero that we're destined to become without being in harm's way at times. There will be darkness and fear and loneliness. When you think of these epic classical quests, you might think of sword fighting. It takes a lot of training to be strong enough and skilled enough to be ready to go up against a swordsman in battle. Sword fighting is incredibly dangerous. One well-placed deep laceration and your journey is over. Or you might think of battling dragons. That's about as threatening as it gets. They can eat you, eviscerate you, or burn you with their breath. So, what are the encounters that put you in harm's way on your journey through life? We might experience the death of a loved one, the loss of a job, divorce, deception, financial devastation. What about health-wise? All of those things can, of course, affect our health, but we can also be forced to enter health battles like cancer, or chronic pain, an acute illness like pneumonia or osteomyelitis, or an injury like a ski or car accident, mental obstacles like anxiety or depression. These things can be major and all-consuming, at least for a while, like battling a dragon, and that's okay, even if it doesn't seem like it at the time. The hero's journey is not supposed to be easy, or you wouldn't come out the other side a hero, right? There are obstacles for all of us. Even Superman can be weakened or killed by kryptonite. A big piece of that, and he will lose all of his superpowers. It's important to train for your hero's quest. You can't just wander around like a slack-jawed yokel and expect to be able to win a duel with a six-fingered man, best a giant from the brute squad, or storm the castle after being mostly dead all day. Preparation for the big battles is important. Being intentional is essential. Learn how to recognize a dragon's lair, practice your muscle-ups, and master your swordsmanship. Train your escape from kryptonite encounters. It's an important part of your hero's journey. But is there something more perilous to your success than dragons and swords? I think there is. If we're only focused on death by dragon bite or sword cut, we can lose sight of the fact that we could also be defeated by gnat bite or paper cut. Gnats and paper cuts? Really? Yeah. According to Science Focus magazine, do you know what the most dangerous animal on the earth is? And the most deadly? You might know this. Would you think of a lion or a crocodile? Those are numbers 10 and 7. Maybe a snake or a dog? Those are numbers 3 and 4. The most deadly animal on the planet is the mosquito. 725,000 humans die every year from mosquito bites, or more accurately from the diseases that they spread. I can pretty much guarantee that we've all had encounters with mosquitoes. They're annoying but commonplace. Some places more than others, and some with more dangerous diseases to transmit than others. And do you remember what Albert Einstein supposedly said is the 8th wonder of the world? Compound interest. We know that investing money in an interest-yielding account will give us more money because our money earns money, and then that money earns money, turning into a beautiful snowball of aggregating and compounding gains. With a 10% interest rate, our money will double in 7.2 years. Pretty awesome. I'm reading a book right now about the FIRE movement, the financial independence, retire early thing. So compound interest is a big deal with FIRE people and for everyone, really. And it can be so great, like retire when you're 27 and travel the world, kind of great. If you're on the right side of the equation. Einstein also supposedly, but maybe not really, said, "He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it." What's so bad about being on the wrong side of compound interest? The money you owe increases, and the increase on the money you owe increases, aggregating and compounding into a crushing snowball of debt. This is how a pair of jeans bought on a credit card that you only make the minimum payment on can end up taking like 9 years to pay off and costing you $2,000 or whatever. Not good. We would never talk to a cashier at the store and agree to a 9-year commitment of $2,000 for a pair of jeans, because that's insane. Hopefully you would never make just the minimum payment on a credit card either, but you can see how that scenario could play out, right? Minimum payment this month, no biggie. And next month and the month after, now it's just a habit. The aggregation of marginal gains. It can be awesome, but it can also be awful. We do want to train our bodies for resilience. If we are in optimal health, we will be more likely to bounce back well from inevitable health setbacks and injuries. You will recover better from an accident or infectious disease if you're in peak physical wellness when it happens. It's an extra layer of protection. The dragon's breath won't fry you. You'll just need a reasonable amount of time to heal from your burns. We also want to avoid big, obvious chunks of kryptonite. You know better than to surrender your superpowers to cigarettes, recreational drugs, or binge drinking. It pays to take evasive action from these health-destroying evils. But many times, what's more dangerous than these dragons, sword cuts, and kryptonite chunks are gnats, paper cuts, and kryptonite dust. Dangerous because they're everywhere. We're used to them. We think they're not a big deal. They're just a part of life. But like buying your new fanny pack collection with your credit card and then only making the minimum payment, little things aggregate and compound over time, eventually snowballing into a crushingly huge problem. Can you bleed to death by paper cut? You can if you get many thousands of them. It's one of the things causing the massive hemorrhage of American money being poured into our sick care system. Thousands of tiny little nicks and scrapes to our mitochondrial function, vitamin intake, hormone functioning, toxic burden, habits, perceptions, and beliefs that add up to what we call cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, cancer, dementia, chronic pain, and so on. With a few rare exceptions, like living by Chernobyl in 1986, these diseases are not caused by a singular event, one sword slice. It's decades of inflammatory oils, refined grains, poor sleep, microplastics, harmful personal care products, midnight snacks, and sedentariness. It's believing that one unique molecule patented by a pharmaceutical company will fix your problem, or that your life circumstances make it too hard for you to be able to redesign your habits. What are your dragon swords and kryptonite chunks? Is there a disease that runs in your family that you're worried about? Are there already health concerns that are starting to make an appearance in your life? I know you can rise to the challenge and get stronger from training and fighting those beasts. So keep up the good work. But what about the gnats and the paper cuts? What are yours? What's sapping your health one kryptonite dust particle at a time? What has the potential to aggregate and compound over time to lead to a life where you aren't able to make a difference in the world the way that you'd like to? Could it be exposure to blue light within an hour of bedtime? Eating packaged food? So easy these days and more harmful than you're led to believe. Is it regularly sitting for more than 30 consecutive minutes? Skipping your workouts? Not knowing what workout to do? Mouth breathing? Worrying? Soda? Pierce Steele, author of The Procrastination Equation, tells us that studies have shown that we can get another month of work out of our year, so 13 months of productivity in 12 months, if we just turn off our email notifications. No visual alert, no little sound. You are 10% more efficient and effective when you don't see or hear those during your day. 10%. That's a big deal. 5 extra weeks worth of work every 52 weeks just from not allowing your attention to be diverted away for a second here and a second there all day, every day. That's what I'm talking about with the gnats. Recognizing the issue and taking one action to completely remove the entire swarm from your life, then watching your effectiveness slowly rise. Just like having something grab your attention away for 1 second seems tiny and like it couldn't possibly matter, there may be tiny health and longevity related things in your day that seem completely inconsequential. You might think they're NBD, as we say, but it's completely possible that removing them could give you extra vital years of life. Avoid paper cutting yourself here and there, and you could potentially add more years to your life, or more importantly, more life to your final years. You can and do, whether you want to or not, influence what common diseases of aging you will develop in the future. What do you think your personal kryptonite dust is? Your paper cuts or gnat bites? What are some things that you know aren't great, but also seem like not really a big deal? Could it be just a little taste of something here or there? That can certainly add up. Maybe staying up for just 15 minutes longer than you planned. No big deal until you realize that that's 7.5 hours of restorative sleep that you're not getting the benefits from every month. Maybe it's keeping packaged food on hand just in case, or allowing app push notifications that pull your attention away just for a second, or start the eternal mindless scroll. Not taking your snack out of the big container and putting it in a little bowl or on a plate so that when it's gone, it's gone. Not being meticulous about your weightlifting form. not paying attention to how much water you drink, not being intentional about getting some sunlight on your eyes and skin during the day, not filtering your water or air, eating foods made with industrial seed oils, heating your food in plastic containers. Tiny things add up. Whatever you've thought of, good for you. It's awesome to get some awareness. I'd invite you to pick just one. What feels easiest to be able to kick out of your hero's journey? One little gnat that keeps coming around and sucking a tiny drop of your life away. What can you do to eliminate that one gnat? Forget about all the others for now. Just commit 110% to this one tiny thing. If it's currently a habit on autopilot, it will take some effort to stay conscious and change your behavior. Imagine when it will be the most challenging to avoid and commit to doing that anyway, even in that difficult situation. That self-mastery, even over something kryptonite dust particle small, feels so good. You can still plan to and prepare for battling dragons, but mastering the gnats gives you power and confidence. Once you develop mastery over one tiny little thing, you start naturally doing it with other things too. That's why it really doesn't matter which paper cut you choose to avoid first. Start anywhere and watch the compounding of marginal gains start to slowly roll forward, one gnat at a time, until you've conquered more gnats than the size of a dragon. Since I'm a total nerd, as you already know by now, I just asked Google, and it says that an average dragon, whatever that means, would weigh about 300 pounds. Who knows, really? An average gnat weighs 1.5 milligrams. So if you successfully fought off 90,700 gnats, that would be the same weight as a dragon. That's only 25 gnats a day for 10 years. That's not that many. Say you eliminate one tiny bad habit that you used to do 3 times every day. That would be 10,950 times of no longer doing that behavior over the course of 10 years. Amazing! Author Stephen Kotler talks about living 4% outside of your comfort zone. That's the optimal amount to push yourself beyond your current capabilities. 4%. I love this idea, and I love having a measurable amount to do something. He says that just that little 4% every day makes what's impossible become what's next for you. It's what's for breakfast. End quote. I love it. What seems impossible to you? You could make it what's next for you and have it for breakfast if you keep pushing yourself by just 4%. What would a 4% longer intermittent fast be? 33.6 minutes if you fast for 14 hours a day. 200 more steps if you usually get 5,000 steps a day. 2.4 more grams of protein if you usually only get 60 grams of protein a day. 3.6 fewer minutes of TV if you usually spend 90 minutes a day watching. We can gain huge advantages by not allowing ourselves to be weakened by paper cuts and kryptonite dust all day, every day. Their insidious and seemingly insignificant nature are what makes them so dangerous. They're everywhere, and they're the building blocks of the common diseases of aging. But maybe even more important than that is that making the effort to resist the paper cuts and gnat bites that are everywhere can also be our training to avoid sword cuts and death by dragon. We talked about The Princess Bride, which came out in 1987. So travel back 3 years to 1984, and you'll land on the next movie that keeps coming to my mind as I'm envisioning our training. Avoiding being weakened by gnat bites while also developing the skill and strength we need to slay a dragon by the repeated swatting or wax on, wax off motion, or painting the fence or sanding the floor or whatever Danielson had to learn to do. Not only can avoiding the ravages of thousands of paper cuts be to our advantage, but using those tiny opportunities as training to build our skill and strength at sword fighting makes us even more powerful. Little drops of self-mastery sprinkled throughout your day add up. If you can obey yourself and resist temptations in tiny little ways, you are casting hundreds of votes for an identity of a disciplined person. And that is huge. How can a seemingly insignificant habit be an opportunity for you to get even stronger? I would love for you to think about what is diminishing your power in tiny dust particle size ways, and not only take back that power, but use it as fuel to grow stronger in big ways too. 4% at a time until what's impossible becomes what's next for you. Have a dragon for breakfast just by learning to avoid a gnat. Thank you so much for listening today and for taking a few minutes to work on getting stronger so that you can give more in service to the world for many years to come. Joseph Campbell, the father of the hero's journey and author of The Power of Myth, said, "The demon you can swallow gives you its power." I love that. What if you got a mosquito's worth more power over and over and over? You'd slowly accrete a lot of power that would allow you to swallow bigger and bigger demons until you really could have a dragon for breakfast. Next week, we're going to talk about why I think you should consider taking lithium. Until then, refuse paper cuts and don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.